Barry Trotz has hired a new assistant coach, cleared up the Jonathan Marchessault rumors, and ticked off the fan base all in one day.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to the Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. We are, of course, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We want to kick off this Wednesday of Draft Week episode, shouting out our Locked On Predators insiders and our everydayers who tune in to talk Nashville Predators hockey with us. I'm Ann Kimmel. I'm a writer and co-host with Penalty Box Radio, and friends, I have a partner in crime.
You do. I am Emma Lingan, and I'm an NHL host and reporter for the Hockey News. And first, I have to ask, how are you handling the heat okay?
Y'all, I am not doing well. It is 77 degrees in my air-conditioned office right now. So as I slowly melt like Olaf through this episode, plan nice things to say about me at my funeral, because what the flagnog, you all. I'm not going to make it.
None of us are going to make it. This heat wave is no joke.
No joke. And like I said, the AC is just, it's chugging. It's chugging along. But again, 77 degrees in my office, friends. If anybody was warmer, it's Barry Trotz, because his seat may be a little bit hot after last season. But yesterday afternoon, Barry Trotz met with media. He talked about draft strategy, which we're going to cover in tomorrow's episode. He addressed some trade rumors. He talked about his vision for the team next season. And he talked about a new face that is going to be behind the Nashville Predators bench. We're going to talk about those things on today's episode and share some of the early reaction from the fan base. It's not great, y'all. Before we dive into all of that, we do want to let you know today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. All right, Emma, we had a little Barry Trotz powwow yesterday. Only lasted about 30 minutes, so it was like a shorter stream of consciousness, but always love chatting with Barry because he says all the things. All the things.
30 minutes is a very brief, that's a brief from Barry Trotz. That's not a press conference.
He had to be somewhere at 3:30, I think, which is why it was so brief. But
that explains it.
Still lots of meat. Barry Trotz gave us a lot of meat in those 30 minutes. We're going to talk about some of the highlights today. Tomorrow, we're going to cover what he had to say about the upcoming draft this weekend. But one of the first things that we need to talk about, Emma, is that there is a coaching change headed Nashville's way. Not the one that you all were clamoring for at the end of last season. But Luke Richardson is in as an assistant coach. Todd Richards out as assistant coach. And we're going to dive into Luke Richardson here in just a second. But here's what I want to say about Todd Richards. You know, we don't necessarily have a ton of conversation media-wise with assistant coaches. We generally talk with Bruno. But when Bruno stepped away from the team for personal reasons, we got a chance to chat with Todd Richards. Loved him. I really love chatting with Todd Richards, so we'll miss him. Here's the other thing I will say off topic. John Hines, top tier head coach when it comes to media relations. Just saying. Yeah. But like Todd Richards, really enjoyed his conversations, really enjoyed his insight when we had an opportunity to talk with him. But Emma, Luke Richardson is in. What do you think about the move?
I think that it's not entirely surprising. It's like head coaches usually bring in their own guys, when they can. And when Andrew Brunette came in, we kind of had like some, it was like piece by piece, we saw the coaching staff start to go. And so usually when assistant coaches, move on, it's because their contract isn't renewed by the team. It's not that they've been fired or they're anything like that. It's just, like Todd Richards was probably on a contract that expired at the end of this last season. That contract has not been renewed. So now you get Luke Richardson coming in. Now, as far as the pick itself, Barry Trotz said that he was going to be working or had experience working a lot with the defense, which I think is going to be really good. I think it kind of fits more of the direction, I guess, that they're trying to go, which is, like younger, fresher coaching staff. The good thing, though, is that Richardson is a younger coach, but he had NHL head coaching experience. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds there. And I think that that'll be a good help to Andrew Brunette.
Yeah, I really like this as well. He was most recently the head coach of the Chicago Blackhawks. He was let go earlier last season by the Blackhawks. But I am with you. I am very intrigued and interested in him coming in because, like you said, this is somebody who played defense in the NHL. So he has got player experience. He's got assistant coach experience. He has head coach experience. So I think this is really great. You're also looking at Nashville getting ready to bring in and bring up some prime defensive pieces. And, I look at Tanner Molendyke. I think Andrew Gibson, I think there's just some defensive players in the pipeline where this may be a really good fit at a really good time. You're also looking at making improvements defensively for this team. So I think it's an interesting and a good fit. I like, Barry Trotz in his stream of consciousness, as he does, he said something that I thought was so interesting. And he said, Luke Richardson comes in and he did not go through 84 years of last season and brings fresh energy. And listen, you've got to have somebody who is a little bit bright-eyed and bushy-tailed next season. And I don't know that you can count on Andrew Brunette and all of the players to be 100% palate cleansed to come in next season. So I like this, like young, energetic. Barry Trotz also said he likes that this is going to be fresh eyes for the coaching staff and for the defensemen. So I think this is just another maybe support, not just for the defense, but for Andrew Brunette as well. So I'm very intrigued by this. I'm excited to get to know him. Excited to see how this all pans out. He's going to be joining Derek McKenzie, Darby Hendrickson, and of course, Ben Vanderklok as Andrew Brunette's coaching staff. So I don't know. I like this, Emma. I think a breath of fresh air that has not seen the horrors, you all. I think this is a smart move.
I mean, depends on your definition of horrors. I mean, he came from one horror to another. I think different kind of horror. But
Fair.
I will say, even when he was fired by Chicago last year, I kind of raised my eyebrow at that move because I thought that, I mean, obviously Chicago was not performing last year, but number one, they weren't really supposed to. Number two, a lot of the focus was on, Connor Bedard's having a bad year. Connor Bedard still had a good year. It was bad for him because good for him is superhuman. So also, you should not be relying on this 19-year-old to carry your entire team. But all of that aside, I feel like a lot of the issues that they were having, like surrounding a team or surrounding Connor Bedard with a team that's going to make him successful and thereby make the team successful, was something that's not under Richardson's control. It was maybe more of a GM situation and not the coach. So that was kind of my take on that. I thought that I thought maybe that Chicago gave up on him a little too early, but
Yeah.
our gain here in Nashville.
That's right. Their loss, our gain. So it'll be great to see how he fits in and to get to know him over the course of, dev camp, training camp, and as we go on. Coming up, one of the biggest rumors swirling around Nashville and frankly around the NHL has to do with Jonathan Marchessault. Friends, Barry Trotz addressed those rumors head on yesterday. We're going to tell you the surprising thing he had to say. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you are all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are out getting sunburned at the beach. You can use FanDuel to track your favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. It's easy to use, fast to pay out, and makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. New to FanDuel? Well, friends, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, Emma. Oh, friends, the rumor mill and Jonathan Marchessault. Now, at the end of, get out the big cauldron, the big soup pot of rumor and chatter. You're right, Emma. Yeah. Marchessault had some comments. The drama cauldron. He had some comments at the end of locker room cleanout that a lot of people have been chewing on, and the rumor mill, not just in Nashville but around the NHL, friends, has been going nonstop about Marchessault wanting out, Marchessault trading away, Marchessault. I read something yesterday that said that Jonathan Marchessault reportedly would not consider going somewhere unless it was a tax-free state as well. Like, that's how into the Jonathan Marchessault trade jingweeds we have gotten. Friends, we asked Barry Trotz, hey, Barry, friend, what's the scoop with Marchessault? Interestingly enough, Barry Trotz started the press conference yesterday 3 minutes late because he was on the phone with Jonathan Marchessault's agent and said, and I quote, this is a Barry Trotz quote, there is no truth to any of that. To Jonathan Marchessault wanting to be traded and to get the heck out of Nashville. Emma, are you surprised to hear Barry Trotz say there is no truth to those rumors?
No, because, I mean, well, first of all, am I surprised that he said it? No, because even if there was truth to it, Barry Trotz isn't going to come out and say that. Like, let me just take all of the leverage I have and just flush it down the toilet in one sentence.
Can you imagine?
Oh boy. Yeah, no, give him a little more credit than that, guys. No, I'm not. And I think that that's kind of, what we had said before. Like, I don't, another thing that Barry said about Marchessault, as far as, a couple things. Number one, there are a lot of things working against him this year, not the least of which, and I will admit, I had even forgotten about this for a little bit. His father passed away during training camp.
Yeah.
His father passed away. That jacked up training camp for him. Obviously he was granted time away. And then of course he comes back. He's in a new situation. The team does not get off to a good start. I mean, I'm not trying to make excuses for him. I'm just trying to say that there's a lot at play here. And then at the end of the day, he didn't have a bad season. It's not like he came in and completely just stunk it up. But then, at the same time, another thing that Barry Trotz said about Marchessault is that he's too competitive. He's too competitive to not have a good season. And he really doesn't strike me like he strikes me as someone who wants to win, obviously. And that's why, he gets so fiery and he gets so, like we've said before, sometimes he'll just say the things because he cares so deeply about winning. But in that same vein, like, I never thought of him as the type to be like, well, this year didn't go the way I wanted, so now I want out, and like throwing a temper tantrum like that. It's like, no, if anything, I think he's gonna dig in a little deeper. And that's kind of what we've said all along, right? Is that I don't think he's going into Barry Trotz's office and demanding a trade. Now, if someone came to Barry Trotz and said, "Hey, we want Jonathan Marchessault, and here's a big shiny offer that Barry Trotz can't say no to," like, I don't think that's happening because Marchessault's 34 years old and making a decent amount of money, so I don't think that's happening. But I also think that Barry Trotz would not be doing his job if he said, no, not interested. So I think that it's one of those things that it's like, yeah, if there's he'll have a conversation, he'll take a phone call, but no one is asking, no one's demanding anything.
Yeah. And it's amazing to me how quickly his comments got turned into something. And look, I'm not saying that Jonathan Marchessault is thrilled. Nobody is thrilled over what happened last year. And I agree with you. If somebody came to Barry Trotz with an offer that tickled his fancy, there would be a conversation. I'm also not saying that Jonathan Marchessault loves it so much here and he would never want to go anywhere. He's got to have hated how last season went. There's not a one of us that enjoyed that 84 years, including Marchessault. But I think it is a good point. He is such a competitor. He is the spicy chili. Like, he's the spicy chili. And I like that Trotz said, look, he's too much of a competitor for him to not be good next season. Now, there's a lot more that goes into that besides like the heart. But I agree with him. And I don't know that you have to be super concerned. But also, I do love the idea that we were going to hoodwink Barry Trotz into being like, yeah, he really can't stand it here. Like, he's not going to say that either.
Come on, guys.
Come on, guys. But I will say this. One of the things that we did hear from Marchessault is he said, look, I did not move my family all the way across the country. This was not just we'll try it here and see what happens. Like, he was committed to this. And, so let's see what happens with Marchessault. This whole past season for all of these veterans was just a tough go. And like you said, there were off ice things that Marchessault carried starting at the beginning of his tenure here that were really, really difficult. So I thought it was interesting. He said, look, I talked to his agent and said, hey, I haven't heard anything new. And the agent's like, no, so that's what we know right now. Okay. That's what Barry Trotz has told us right now. So while Jonathan Marchessault gives us great quotes and great content and great things to talk about, we might have to just put the drama cauldron back in the cabinet when it comes to Jonathan Marchessault. And I know that's disappointing to some people. But,
I mean, listen, we're getting to the part of the offseason now where things are actually going to be happening, like the draft and free agency and like actual news. So maybe we won't need the drama cauldron as much as maybe we thought we did.
Actual drama is so much more enjoyable than speculative drama. Yes. As a former 8th grade girl, I assure you this is true. So yeah, there's going to be a lot going down. We are not going to have to keep talking about what he could have meant. We'll see as, the season approaches, like Emma said. Coming up, Barry Trotz, said some things in this press conference. Friends, the reaction on social media was immediate. We're going to tell you what Barry Trotz had to say about picking a lane, and I'm going to tell you why everybody needs to chill it out. All right, Emma, one of my favorite morning sports show, Robbie and Rexroad on 102.5. Love Robbie and Rexroad. And every so often they have the Rex rant or the Robbie rant. And so I might just co-opt that and just say Ann is going to go on a rant. And, part of this could be the heat getting to me.
No, I think it's the Ann rant. That can be a thing.
The
Please.
Anne rant. Yes.
Yes.
So in his press conference, of course, Barry Trotz was asked about the plan and the path because you can't be in a room with Barry Trotz without people going like the plan and the path, Barry, like what's going on? And the question was, are you at a point where you're kind of ready to say, hey, we need to pivot and do something different? And this is what Barry Trotz said. Barry Trotz said that he wants to see what this roster can do before, quote, picking a lane when it comes to the path forward for the Nashville Predators. He also went on to say that he believes that this roster is too talented and too competitive to not have a good year. Friends, I mean, I had barely hit tweet or exit, whatever you're supposed to say, before it was, oh my goodness. And Emma, I don't want to turn into this person, but I'm going to turn into this person, and I am going to beg our listeners to hear what I am saying. Don't hear what you think I'm saying. Hear what I'm saying. The only thing worse than dragging a facade, a failed plan out too long is calling it quits too soon. Listen to what I'm saying. Let me lay it out here. We don't know. I understand. Look, I see the same stats you did. Friends, I sat through all 84 years of last season with my own eyes. I hear you. I saw the stats. I saw how this team finished. I saw the performances. I get it. But we still don't know enough about this roster as it stands right now on June 25th. We don't know enough about this roster on June 25th to go, this is a fail and we need to pivot and pick a different lane. And I know some of you are screaming in all caps right back at me, but I am telling you, we don't know enough yet. Here's what I'm not saying, Emma. I am not saying that the Nashville Predators are going to come out and they are going to light it up and they're going to go to Stanley Cup playoffs. And I told you so. I'm not saying that. You all may be right that this is a failed plan, but we don't know that yet. And to call it quits before you know what you know about this roster is way worse than dragging it out too long. And I just need people to hear me say that, Emma.
Well said. Honestly, I could not agree more. I mean, that's what I understand. And, to your point, no one is sitting here saying, like, guys, it wasn't that bad last year. Come on. Like, it was fine. No, it was horrible. And we aged like presidents through it, as we said yesterday. So I understand the angst, and no one is trying to take that away from you or tell you that it's not real. We're not gaslighting anyone here.
Mm-mm.
But I think that you are absolutely right. No one is saying that this is guaranteed to work. Even Barry Trotz isn't saying this is guaranteed to work. But we have every reason to believe that it should. Again, the whole on paper, fantasy hockey, all of that, we now are very familiar with that. So it's not a guarantee, but all of the research and the evidence and the, everything that happened before this year tells us that this year should have been an anomaly. It should be a fluke. We don't know that it is until we see what happens next year and the year after. But again, to your point, with these pieces that you have that you've invested so much in, both time and money, it's so funny to me because the people, I'm sure, the same people who are screaming at you and screaming to the void about, oh no, this team is terrible and we can't win with this team, are the exact same people who were screaming into the void about how David Poyle and then, ultimately Barry Trotz, they need to go spend money. They have all this cap space. They need to spend money. They need to get goal scoring. Well, you know what? For better or for worse, Barry Trotz did that. You have to give him credit there. Like, no one, he went and he did the thing. He said the thing and then he did the thing. He said he was going to get goal scoring. He went and added goal scoring. Now, no one is here saying that, and therefore it was a success. Like, it clearly this year was not a success. But to your point, we have enough of a body of work to look back on, a body of work prior to this most recent season that tells us that we don't know enough yet, just based on this one season alone. If you had brought in some complete no-name player, you signed a bunch of guys to league minimum contracts and said, well, it didn't work, back to the drawing board, that's fine. Like, that's different. That's not the situation that we're in here. And so I thought that too when Barry Trotz said, well, I believe that we can win with this group. And I knew I could just hear the rumblings of torches and pitchforks outside, like, as soon as he said that. And it's like, but he's right. Like, if you look at that roster, if you lived under a rock for last season and you only looking at what happened before, you would look at this roster and say, yeah, you know what? Yeah, they should be able to win. And so again, I don't think, like, people have a lot of recency bias, and I understand that because it was very hard. It took a lot out of us, but
it sure did.
He's really not wrong for wanting to see what he has here. Like, because what else is the plan? I mean, like, you can't, again, like, all of this stemmed from, like, people asking, well, you have the number 5 pick. Are you going to try to trade up? He has the number 5 pick. Like, can we also just say that this team is not one Michael Misa away from being right there? Like,
yes,
you have a gap that you need to fill. And he did that. He went and he got the pieces to do that. Now, the plan in the immediate term still hasn't worked out yet. It may not work ever. But again, to your point, Anne, it's too early to tell. And now he, and still, he really didn't leverage any of the future to go do that. So, like, he still has all of these picks. And again, I'm not sitting here saying with 100% certainty Barry Trotz is going to pick the next franchise cornerstone and everything is going to be amazing. He's going to be GM of the year. Everything is going to be sunshine and rainbows. But I'm saying he's earned the benefit of the doubt. Like, he's earned the benefit of the doubt that he will do that. And we can't already write him off before it even happens. Just because one season went very, very poorly. And I know it felt like more than one season. It felt like 84 of them. It felt like 84 of them. But that's my very long-winded way of saying I totally agree with you.
Yeah. And people are going to hear this. And I know what's going to happen, Emma, in the comments. I know what's going to happen on Twitter. And they're going to go, you're making excuses for Barry Trotz. And how can you not look at the stats and not know? And look at, we're the second oldest team in the league. You know something? All of those things can be true. I saw the stats, friends. I don't need you to remind me how the Nashville Predators performed, because I was there, first of all. Second of all, don't come at me with, we are the oldest team. I'd like to introduce you to Brad Marchand. He's not new. He's not fresh. Now, here is what I am saying. I'm not promising you anything. I very much understand that this next season could kick off and we'd be 30 games into the season and it is a mitigated disaster. That's when you know what lane to pick. You don't know what lane to pick yet. And you are going to say, I am promising you too much. Hear what I'm saying and don't come at me with what I'm not saying. I am telling you, it is too soon to call it quits on what Barry Trotz did last season. If you were in a coma, if you on June 30th, 2024 fell and hit your head and you happened to slip into a coma, I would hate that for you. But if you woke up on June 25th and somebody said, "Hey, while you were out, this is the Predators roster," you would have been like, "Oh, hey, yeah, okay." We all did that. And while it was a disaster of a season, you still don't know for sure that that is what's going to happen next season. Now, very well could happen next season, but you don't know it for sure. So stop expecting Barry Trotz to make a decision too soon, because trust me when I say that's worse than dragging it out. And it costs nothing to this franchise to give it 30 games. It costs you nothing. First of all, you can't do what half of you all are squawking that you want the Nashville Predators to do. You can't do it. Lovely idea, can't do it. You can't do what you all want Nashville to do. It can't be done. You just have to accept what is. It is what it is. You cannot tear it down. It is what it is. But it's too soon to decide that. It might not feel like that in your heart and your gastrointestinal system, and we get that. But it's too soon. So stop being pissed that Barry Trotz isn't pulling the trigger right now, because it might be too soon to do that. It might not be, but it costs you nothing to go into next season with a similar team and see. It costs you nothing. You sacrifice nothing. So stop and just wait and see. Nobody wants to see it happen twice. Emma and I didn't want to see it happen 82 times, but we did. Wait and see. That was such a rant. I think it's the heat. I really do think it's partly the heat, but also
you need to take a breath or cool down for a second. Yeah. I mean, no, but it was, I mean, again, we've had 2 seasons of Barry Trotz and Andrew Burnett. Could not be more different from one another, these 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So just because one of those seasons was something that you didn't like, I don't think it's fair to say like, well, doesn't work, blow it up, blow it all up. And again, it may be like, that's why this, like, to that end, this upcoming season is going to be so pivotal, because this is almost, to me, like, to dumb it down a little bit, but like, it's like the tiebreaker. This is the tiebreaker season. This is where we see like, okay, what is this team really? And then, I think we can start having a little bit more serious conversations about making bigger changes and, things like that. But again, I mean, we've been saying this from the beginning that no one is here. We get nothing out of saying nice things about Barry Trotz.
Nothing.
We don't get extra snacks in the press box. We don't get
free grilled cheeses, nothing.
No, we get nothing. So I don't know why everyone thinks that like we're being paid or like we're defending the franchise or the front office, because really we have no reason to. So yeah, that's just, I don't know. I mean, people like to say it because, again, these are the people who have taken their drama cauldrons out of the cabinet and never put them away ever. And so it's like they just have a permanent, they have a permanent drama cauldron like on their counter, and they just, because it fits their narrative to say, well, the media is in on this. It's all a whole thing and the media is in on it, and they're trying to convince us with their propaganda.
Anything. We are not trying to spin anything. And we're not saying that the people who say this is a disaster, we're not saying that you're wrong. We're saying it's too soon to know for sure. You may be right. And we know that. We know that.
We're not saying that you're wrong, and we're not saying that like we're right. Like, what we're saying is that it's too early to know one way or the other. And the atrocity that was this last season made it feel like it's been a lot longer than it has. But in the grand scheme of things, it really hasn't been. And so no one is saying like that's a good distinction to make. No one is saying that the blow it up and rebuild crowd is wrong objectively, but we're
Correct.
saying not yet.
You don't know.
Not yet.
You don't know yet. You
Yeah,
don't
you don't know yet.
might not be wrong, and you might not be wrong, but you don't know for sure yet. And it will cost this franchise and the fan base so much more to jump that gun than it will to let it play out just long enough to know for sure. That's all we're saying. So here what we're going to say. Some of you are going to hear what you think you want us to say, because some people would kick if they had both legs cut off. But we said what we said, Emma. We said what we said. So be interested to hear your thoughts. Can you give it 30 games, y'all? Or do you just feel like you know for sure? And then sit and think on that. Let us know your thoughts in the comments on our YouTube video. Of course, you can find us on social media, LO_Predators as well. Emma, before we log off on this Wednesday, can you let everyone know where they can find you and your work?
Yes, you can find me on social media at Emma_Lingan, and you can find my work at the Hockey News.
You can find me doing what my great uncle Fran said they did in World War II, which was wash the high and powder the low, because I am sweating like I can't even tell you. It's so horrible. I'm going to do that. But you can also find my work online at Penalty Box Radio. You can find me on social media at AnnK_Mama on Ice. On tomorrow's show, we're going to talk about what else Barry Trotz had to say. He talked draft strategy, draft picks. We're going to share all that with you tomorrow. So make sure you come back and join us then. In the meantime, we hope you all have a fabulous Wednesday. We'll see you tomorrow.